I'm finally back here on YouTube, and I've got a very interesting video, quite different from the usual DWM stuff, which I still, of course, love. But if you're here new to the channel, or if you managed to survive my hiatus, please give a like and a sub before we continue. Just been busy recently, but I finally got some new hardware to tinker with here, and my desktop is not DWM, but I still, of course, love DWM, and I will eventually go back to DWM and do some more cool, interesting stuff. But because this laptop is not, you could say, a generic device, a lot of stuff is kind of hard to set up. Well, not really, it's not hard to set up, it's just there's a lot that I don't know about this architecture, which happens to be ARM. It's building on, the Rock Pi that I have. And that thing, I like, but the problem with the Rock Pi is that, interesting that I noticed is that hardware, in my honest opinion, is probably really pushed to the limits, because I tested a Raspberry Pi, and it's clocked, the CPU is at like 1.5 gigahertz, and you've got the Rock Pi, which is well above that, and the hardware to me doesn't really seem so stable. Like, certain things would cause it to freeze. I'm not really too sure why. But I think I mentioned this in my last video about the Rock Pi, but the wireless card seems to bug and freeze at times. I don't know, it's just probably best to run it over Ethernet, and then it becomes a little bit more stable. But over here, I came across this laptop a couple months ago called the Pinebook Pro, and I thought it was so interesting because I have never seen a real Linux laptop at an affordable price. Usually you'll see them. Like, I've seen a couple of them, or maybe just one, actually, now that I think about it, and it was extremely overpriced. But we kind of know that it's because it's not a mainstream device, so the price is going to be put up a bit. But the specs on this thing, they're nothing to go really crazy about. It's just a 4-core CPU, an ARM CPU at... Oh, sorry, I misread that. It's got 4 cores at 1.4 gigahertz and 2 cores at 1.8 gigahertz. And the 4 cores are obviously the low-powered, I guess you would call them like daily task ones. And then you got the booster cores, the dual core at 1.8 gigahertz. And it's got a Mali GPU, which is nothing to really be too impressed by. But oddly enough, this laptop works really well for me, and I've had mixed reviews, or I've seen mixed reviews about this machine. But in my overall use of this device, I have not had it be bad. It's actually surprising how well it works, and it's not gonna do anything beyond 1080p 30 fps video playback, but just the thought that you could spend $200, and get a Linux laptop that runs, and it'll run many OSs. For example, I tried let's see, where would it be? The wiki here. I tried, this is Manjaro, by the way. I didn't get into where I was running. I'm all over the place right now. But I'm running Manjaro, and it supports many, many different OSs. If I could just... sorry, my print is so zoomed in. One drawback, actually, I'll just say it right now, for me personally, is the touchpad. The touchpad has not been the greatest thing ever for me to use. For me personally, I had to set it up here a little bit more different than my usual setups. Generally, I just turn on inverted scrolling, natural scrolling, and tap to click, and then that's it, and then everything's good. But with this touchpad, like the acceleration by default is really wonky, so you have to configure it a little bit. But once you do, it's okay. But the tap, the responsiveness of this touchpad is not that good. But anyway, let's see. Let's scroll through some of the supported OSs. Okay, so Manjaro ARM. I don't know how everybody feels about Manjaro, but I personally am okay with Manjaro. I'm not the biggest fan of Manjaro, but I'm running Manjaro now, and I really don't have any gripes with it, you know? I feel like some people just hate it because they took Arch and they kind of became, I guess, like the Ubuntu of Arch Linux. But I'm cool with Manjaro. Like, I don't really have a big issue with them. Overall, the work that they did on this release for this laptop is amazing because in general, everything works. The only thing that does not work, and I think it's my fault, is suspend, because I was reading online that there's some sort of issue with toe boot. And by default, this laptop comes with U-boot, right? Which is just, I guess, the Manjaro team's preference. I'm not too sure why they chose that. But with U-boot, you can't specify the boot priority, right? So it's like if you want to boot off of a USB stick, it's just harder. At least I didn't really spend that much time on looking at U-boot, but from what I was reading online, you can't. I didn't dive too deep into it, or at least you can't see what goes wrong when you're trying to boot off of a different device. There's not really a lot of information. There's no like BIOS output. But with toe boot, you'll see. It'll tell you like, oh, if the boot failed or whatever. So I flashed that to the SPI, and I did that just straight through there's some program. I can't remember the name of it, but it's some SPI tool. And let's just run neofetch here for fun, so we can see what's going on. Yeah, so we're almost maxing out the memory. We're halfway there. But anyway, so I flashed toe boot, and yeah, I can boot off of any device that I want. But now I have this issue where I can't suspend the laptop. Which, okay, yeah, it sucks. But overall, it's not too bad. It's okay. But let's go on to the OSs. So yeah, I tried Manjaro, and the flavors that I tried the minimal. And the minimal was okay. It's just that, again, there's a lot of quirks, a lot of different quirks. For example, setting up the video drivers. I'm not too sure how to do that because, for example, here on this laptop, if we do an ls/etc x11 x.conf.d, there's only a keyboard configuration. So I'm not too sure how the graphics driver is being set up. But for me, I always configure the graphics driver here in X11. So it would just take me a really long time to set that up. And then there were other issues. The other one that I was having was controlling the brightness. Yeah. So in the minimal install, I had DWM working and stuff. And I still have a backup, actually, of that OS install, which I'm going to eventually just put into an SD card and then learn how to do it properly and then flush it out. But anyway, for the brightness keys, for some reason the permissions are not set by default. I'm not too sure, but I had to change the configuration for permissions, reboot, and finally I was able to set the brightness of my screen here. So and that was another issue on the minimal install. Another more annoying issue, this is probably the most annoying, is that the F keys would not work, and I'm not too sure how the F keys are being controlled here. I have to see, because for me on DWM, everything I tried just did not work. The F keys would not respond. So that was another problem. I had video playback that was a little bit choppy. I'm not too sure why. I tried some video drivers and yeah. But interestingly here on the default full install that Manjaro makes, everything works well. So yeah, overall, yeah, the minimal install is a little bit hard because there's a lot to configure and a lot that I don't know, what to configure. And there's a lot of documentation online, but for ARM it's fairly new. So yeah, it's something I got to figure out. I got to read through some more. But anyway, so what other flavors? I tried KDE, and again, not to knock KDE, because I think I did a while ago, like last year in one of those videos. KDE for me it just doesn't work. Like there's always some sort of bugginess to it. There's just always a problem, and I don't know why. I just always have a problem with it. Maybe because I never put it on a computer with proper specs, that has like 8 gigs of RAM and stuff. Because even on my other traditional x86 laptop, I didn't put KDE on there. I haven't used KDE in a long time. And yeah, it's just, for me, KDE just, I don't know, there's always something off in it, and it really throws me off. KDE is beautiful, and a lot of people have put a lot of work into it, but it's just not for me. I tried XFCE, and XFCE has been pretty good for me, but on here it was even more wonky, other weird stuff happening, and it just, yeah, I couldn't do it with XFCE. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as KDE, but just some menu glitches, and I just don't like that. I prefer just something straight to the point that works right, and that's why I originally started with DWM, because it took me back. It's you're just there with a bunch of workspaces, and the simplicity is just like your daily tasks aren't that, at least for me personally, I don't have that great huge list of tasks that I need a full bloated desktop, right? So for me, that's just what I like. And so I went and found the Mate one. And interestingly enough, this one has been the most stable. The only problem that I have is the login screen text is a little bit off. So that's the only issue. But one last thing that was a bit annoying, but I figured it out. I got it working. Was the DPI settings, like the text. For me, I don't know. Maybe I'm an old man. I'm not too sure, but I don't like the really small print that it has. So I increased the DPI by like 60 or something like that. I did calculation and got the optimal DPI setting, and now the screen is beautiful. The text is easy to read. You're not squinting. So yeah, so overall my experience with Manjaro right now has been good since I came to the Mate edition. Everything works, almost no bugs. I did have an issue with Bluetooth where I was trying to connect it to the speaker, and the Bluetooth speaker just kept coming in and out. So I'm not too sure. I connected it to another Bluetooth speaker right now, and the audio is fantastic. Yeah, so no complaints there. I'll get more into the hardware a little bit later. But Armbian, I think I did try Armbian very briefly. It was alright, I guess. I tried it for a couple seconds just to see how it was, because I was just jumping through distros. That's what's beautiful about Linux. You can distro hop whenever you want, right? So I used this one, and it was okay. It had some... was it this one? I'm not too sure if it was this image. But there was one image that I used that had a bug in the build. And when you're building it, it tries to pull from a GitHub link. And this GitHub link fails. I can't remember if it was Armbian. But I just remember booting from it for a little bit. And it was okay, I guess. It had some nice stuff. Anyway. I won't talk too much about Armbian because I didn't use it. Twister. Okay, yeah, I remember Twister. Twister was awful. Twister was really slow. It's really bloated. It was insane. Like, it's a 2 gig image, but if you unpack it, it's huge. It's huge. Yeah, for me, I did not like it. I was not a fan of Twister. Too bloated. A lot of things that I don't need. Maybe for other people, if you have a slightly more, capable laptop, I would choose that to run Twister OS. But for me, on the Pinebook, did not work. Fedora, I did not even try because I just feel like it's too big of a distro. I'm sure they've probably got flavors and stuff, but yeah, my last experience with Fedora was not good a few years ago. Arch Linux, okay, this is really sad. Actually, I tried to do Arch Linux, and Arch Linux for me just didn't work. I kept on just getting a black screen at boot. So I'm not too sure what happened, but just wasn't working for me. I'm gonna try one more time. Not now, but maybe in the coming weeks, I will get another SD card, because what happened during my venture into this installation is that I have a 16 gigabyte little micro SD card, and I was flashing it. And while I was flashing it, I was using a Windows PC. And this Windows PC blue screened, and then my drive no longer gets recognized on any machine. Not Windows, not Linux, nothing. So, shows you how good Windows is. Always blue screening. But anyway, so yeah, I'm going to try it again. I think what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to try to get Arch Linux running and have that be my, my DWM install. So, yeah. Install instructions were pretty clear, but just, yeah, not for me. Well, I mean, for me, but not working for me at the time. And then the whole SD card issue happened. This OS I did not use, post-market OS. I'm not too sure about that. Kali, I didn't use that one either. Q4, didn't use any of these, yeah. I think I tried Diet Pie. Diet Pie was the one that was having the issues, not Armbian. It was Diet Pie that tried to connect to some server and download some stuff from GitHub, and it was just like trying to do too much, and the link was wrong, so I had to fix the link. So yeah, just not a good experience. But once I did correct the link, what I did is that I removed some extra command that it had in there, and it finally downloaded and installed, and then everything was good. So yeah, on to the next one. OpenSUSE, did not try that one. FidoOS, I googled it, and then I just didn't like. I didn't like how it was. It was basically, I guess, like web based. Yeah, I'm not into that. I want a simple, small, desktop like what I have now. Void Linux, I did not try either. BSD, did not try this. Nope. Debian, did not try Gentoo. I mean, it's cute trying to run Gentoo on here, but I don't know how you're ever gonna spend your time actually using your computer, because you're probably gonna just be compiling programs all day. So it's like whenever you have to update Firefox, I think here it says how long Firefox takes. I think it's like 15, 16, 17 hours. I can't remember, but it's insane. Why would you? It's cute, but anyway, NixOS, didn't use this one, didn't use that one. Slackware, Ubuntu, nope, did not. Yeah, but anyway, so it supports many OSs. So whatever you want to do, you can kind of do. Just go in and, it's really up to whatever flavor of Linux you want, For me, in my opinion, it's just me, just go for the Manjaro Mate Edition, and you can customize it, make it a little beautiful. And yeah, so let's go back to the hardware for a second. Did I not? Okay, let's go back. Sorry that I'm all over the place. Uh, but yeah, okay. All right, let's talk about the build quality. This thing feels nice. If it, I think we can. Regardless, I before I got this thing, I read some reviews, and there were some people. It was kind of mixed. Some people really love this laptop. Other people really don't like it. But the one thing that you kind of cannot knock on this thing is the build quality of the chassis. It's nice. It feels solid. It does not feel like you're holding plastic. And you got to give them credit. Had they really wanted to go down on the price, they could have replaced it with plastic. I haven't opened it because I don't have anything to really put in it to upgrade. So I don't know what the internals are really like. I've briefly seen them online, but from the outside, at least, it feels sturdy. It does not feel like you're holding something really, really light. Okay, and so yeah, it has an SD card slot on the side, a USB on the side, also a audio jack, which I was reading that it can double as a serial port, but you have to open it and flick a switch inside to change it to serial mode. Very interesting. It has USB-C, and I tested this, and it does charge. Charging works. One thing that does not work, this HD digital video out via USB-C. At least for me, I tried, just now plugging it to my TV. Does not work, which is kind of sad. But maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some additional things that I need to configure. Not too sure. The NVMe, you need an adapter. And when I purchased this laptop, I wanted to buy it together, but because of some sort of rules and regulations, they cannot legally ship the Pinebook with accessories because the Pinebook has a rechargeable battery. So yeah, I could not get that, but I do want to do an NVMe install, and I think maybe I can move like the home directory here and then just have the eMMC host the OS, and then have a micro SD card with another OS. Yeah, just a lot of ideas, a lot of possibilities. This is, it's beautiful. It just the idea, like this never, when I was a kid, this didn't exist, and I would have thought this is the coolest thing in the world, to have a laptop like this. But as an older man, I'm finally getting my dreams come true, right? Okay, let's finish off the specs here. So it's got a 10,000 milliamp battery. Works great, lasts for a long time, can't complain. Maybe like 6 hours. Video playback, and again, video playback is really, really good. For me, I probably get like 4 hours, 5 hours, something like that. 3 to 5 hours of constant 1080p playback. The speakers, okay, yeah, the speakers, they're not that good, but they're there, and they kind of work. Interestingly, I think that the Manjaro team configured something to output the sound and make it more clear, because I tried another distro. I can't remember, one of the distros, but the audio output was terrible, and it was really, really low. The sound was really low, and it just sounded bad. But on Manjaro, it's okay. The microphone, I have not tried it. I'm assuming it's okay. It's probably decent. Probably better than the speakers. The front-facing camera, I haven't tried it, but I'm not really too comfortable using these cameras on the laptops. I should probably just remove it. The keyboard, oh yeah, I heard people say the keyboard sucks. Well, the keyboard's alright. I mean, I'm not going to knock it. It's not the best keyboard in the world, but it's good. It's not bad. This laptop, it's actually better. It's kind of shocking. There was an AMD, I can't remember what it was, but it was one of their early APU based CPUs that was like clocked at 1 gigahertz dual core. This thing here outperforms that in web browsing, video playback, everything. This laptop beats it, which is kind of shocking. At least in in my use here on Linux. I'm assuming that if I were to take that laptop that I'm thinking about and put Windows on it, it might be able to do 720p, 1080p playback, because the GPU was solid on that thing. Actually, the GPU that it has is actually capable of gaming. It's just the CPU that threw it out. So okay, anyway, we got privacy switches, which I am assuming, I'm not too sure, they might be somewhere in the F keys. Yeah, I'm not too sure, to be honest, but yeah, they're probably shutting down or physical hardware keys. I'm not too sure really, but if you want to control that, the trackpad, okay, yeah, the trackpad is passable. And again, it has that serial port, and then it has a barrel power port for charging. So you have two options to charge. You could do USB-C or you could use the barrel port. Overall, for me, I'm not going to use this laptop to game or do any task that is crazy. But for basic web browsing, video playback, this thing can do it. You could even probably have it manage, some home media stuff. I would definitely not say to sacrifice or give up a real, traditional laptop or PC, because, this, I mean, it all depends on what you need, right? For me personally, I don't need the fastest PC in the world. I just need a PC that can boot, take me to the internet, let me watch some videos online, let me Google research some stuff, do some light coding. That's it. I don't need, I don't need this to do 4K playback. I don't need it to game. I'm sure it can do some light emulation. It might be able to go up to the PS1, but yeah, I'm not gonna expect so much of this thing here. But so my overall thoughts on this laptop is it's good. I would give it maybe like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. If they were to put some higher powered ARM CPU in there, maybe get it to like 2.3, 2.5 gigahertz, then it could probably at that point really be able to replace, especially these days, like this hardware is old. So I'm pretty sure you could put a CPU with like 2 or 3 times the speed of this thing, at this point. I know that this laptop came out maybe like 3 years ago, so I'm pretty late in the jumping on this bandwagon, but I just thought it would be cool to get some new hardware. So yeah, if they were to come up with the revision, the 2 model, which I'm not too sure if they should do that, because to be honest, they need to really iron out whatever issues this has in terms of like software, and just solidify everything and get it stable. And then I would be cool. I would be like, okay, fine, yeah, come up with one, with a newer CPU, 8 gigs of RAM, but I think as of now, this is suitable. Get everything stable, and then proceed from there. But I'm not too sure. Maybe it's probably maybe more to do with the OS support itself, because for this operating system here, Manjaro, everything in general works. I haven't had too many problems with it, so I will definitely continue. But I guess this was more like a rambling from me about new hardware. But yeah, if you appreciated it, if you like my thoughts, if you want me to continue with some more content, please give a like and a sub. The fat hamster really appreciates it. I think soon I will just do a DWM install on this thing and share my thoughts there, share my configurations, because things are going to be different. I'm going to have to write scripts differently because different command line commands are different, so I'm going to have to tweak a lot. Yeah, now I kind of understand why when new hardware comes out, it's like, things don't always work, even though this isn't new hardware. But like, just thinking about bringing my scripts over here, certain things will have to change. Not much probably, but just a lot of small tweaks. One thing that I forgot to mention, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi seem to work. But yeah, again, I think I did mention it, that I did have issues with Bluetooth, with one Bluetooth speaker, but another one is working great. It's connected right now, actually. Yeah, network speeds before I forget, are pretty good. My internet is really stable. I have 1 gigabit down, 500 MB up, and on this laptop I get about 100 megabits down on Wi-Fi. I'm assuming that if I were to take the USB-C port or USB and connect an adapter, I would probably get a little bit higher, maybe, I don't know, 200, or is it gigabit? I'm not too sure. Yeah. So overall, I recommend this thing. And again, if you like the content, please give a like and a sub. And I really do hope that you found this useful.